And we'll get started. And here's Ilaria. Awesome. Okay. So, we can get into the low back a little bit. And pretty much if you have things nearby that can act as the yoga blocks I'm sitting on that I just tried to point to, as a yoga block, or something that acts as a pillow or bolster. And then a blanket is always handy. So feel free to grab whatever you need as props. I'm a big prop person myself. And then if your hips are tight or low back, sometimes it feels better if you elevate your hips a little bit, sitting up on a folded blanket, or you can sit up on a pillow, just to give that ability for your pelvis to tilt, okay? So take the time to find that comfortable seat and even experiment. Play around with maybe propping the knees up or sitting in a different position than cross-legged, okay? As you find that place for yourself, let your hands rest, let your eyes close, and take a couple deep breaths, letting your breath be that vehicle for tuning into your energy, that vehicle for looking into your body and noticing what's there. As you take a few breaths in and out of your nose, start to add some emphasis onto the exhale. As you allow your exhale to press out just a little further, engaging a little through the low belly, it enables the inhale to happen naturally, without any effort. So take a couple more breaths this way, pressing the exhale out, naturally inhaling. And then return to a natural breath, not trying to make any kind of effort. Just inhale and exhale and notice. Hands connecting at heart center, gently press palms together. Lift your shoulders up and back and lengthen the back of your neck. As you exhale, bow towards your heart. Then softly opening your eyes, release your hands down. And again, let your shoulders lift up and back. And then start to lift your chin up toward the ceiling. And take a couple half circles here with your chin, moving from one shoulder up and over to the other shoulder a couple times. And then coming back into center, tuck your chin down, shake your head no toward the ground. And back up to center, hands come behind to clasp, and as you press palms, lift your shoulders up and back, open and expand through the front body, but then tone the low belly and the low ribs to support the back body. Take a big, deep, full inhale and exhale. Then gently release your hands and walk your hands out in front of you just a little ways. And you might have your hands set up on a prop here. You can always have your hands on a block. We'll move through a couple rounds of cat and cow. So inhale, tilt your belly toward the ground. Exhale, round your spine back, starting to move through your spine. And as you take a couple more deep breaths, just notice where any tension might be residing and think about moving gently. Not going to the deepest place you've ever gone, but instead showing yourself some compassion this morning with this movement. One more deep breath. And inhale long through your spine. Work your way as deeply into a fold as your body needs. And from this place, again, you're not going to the deepest place necessarily, but to where it actually feels okay. So that might mean setting your elbows up on something. Take a full, big, deep breath. And if it feels good, you can shift and move a little bit through the hips, the sides. Just give yourself a chance to tune in and notice what is going on in your body. What's the story of today? And then coming back upright, switch the cross of your legs, coming to the less comfortable cross perhaps for yourself. Or if you're not sitting cross-legged, you don't necessarily have to switch how you're sitting. Move sitting bones. And then with your hands coming out to your knees, that same action of cat and cow, but just a little bit closer with your hands. Inhale, belly tilts forward. Exhale, belly tilts back. And again, not the deepest place you've ever gone, but gentle. Moving slowly through the spine. Kindness, especially into that low back area. The lumbar spine is not actually meant to move a ton. So take it gently. One more big breath. Then inhale upright, tall through your spine. Again, take your hands behind to clasp. And as you press palms together, lift your shoulders up and back. Elbows are bent and hugging back toward each other. So we're keeping our joints unlocked. Take a really big breath here and lift up more, especially through the front ribs. Exhale, engage the low belly and the low ribs so you're supporting your back. Another full, big, deep breath. And now releasing the hands, hands come out in front, pull forward as you clasp, round into the upper back, chin tucks in, and then add that side-to-side sway that helps us get into the lats, sometimes a little further into the low back. And then as you come back upright, we're going to shift forward onto hands and knees. And from hands and knees, just take a moment to set yourself up. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And we're going to shift into down dog. But if you have any issues with toes or ankles, then maybe you stay on hands and knees. But you can always test it out. First, rotate elbow pits forward and push your hands down to expand into the upper back. Then, if it's in your practice, you'll lift your hips up and back for down dog. And then pedal out, bending one knee at a time. Again, tuning into what's right for your body today. Take a big, full, deep breath. And then walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. And inhale, lengthen part way, extending with your heart. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen, hands above your knees. Send your sitting bones up so you're creating a little bit of a low back bend. Exhale and fold. Inhale, lengthen, hands above your knees. Again, a little bit of a low back bend, sitting bones lift. And then squeeze your glutes to walk your hands up your legs to rise all the way up to stand. And with feet inner hip distance apart and parallel, turn your palms open to the front. And even think of rotating arms a little further so your thumbs are rotating back. Take ear to shoulder, checking out through tops of shoulders, the neck, whatever's showing up in your body. Take a full big breath. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, bent knees, fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way, keep those knees a little bit bent. Exhale, fold over your legs. This time, knees a little bent, squeeze your glutes, reach your arms and look forward as you rise, all the way up to standing, arms reach overhead. Exhale, hands come to your heart. We're gonna do that a couple more times. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, bent knees, hinge at the hips and fold. Inhale, lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Again, Knees bend, squeeze your glutes. Start to lift your chest first, reach your arms, and inhale, rise. Exhale, hands come to your heart. Good. One more. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Inhale, knees bent, squeeze your glutes, reach and rise. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. So now we're going to take a sideways stance on our mat. I have 2 mats here, so I'm going to stand so you can see me. So take a sideways stance. You might have to turn sideways. It's okay. Turn your feet parallel to each other. So think of the pinky toe edges becoming parallel. And from this place, hands at your hips, a little bend to your knees, and then inhale, lift your chest up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, push your butt back. Your knees are bent as you fold over your legs. And as you come to this fold, you can always have blocks or a stool or a chair for your hands, whatever you need. And then bend one knee at a time, extending with your heart. So we're getting a little bit more into that wake up through the hamstrings, which oftentimes is a helpful thing to get the low back to release. A couple big, deep inhales and exhales here. And now, knees bent, push, feet into the ground, stick your sitting bones up, hands to your hips, squeeze the glutes and rise. Good. Now turn right foot out and bend into your right knee. And then notice for yourself, if your stance is not long enough, then your shin is gonna go past the center of your foot, so you might have to widen your stance a little bit. You want that stacked place for your shin, straight up and down. Lift your arms, take a full big deep breath, and start to activate the glute on your right leg to help your knee turn more open to the pinky toe edge. Full big deep breath. And now hands to hips, work your front leg towards straight and shift your hips back, creating a hip crease in that right hip. Knee stays a little bent and turning toward the pinky toe edge. Now, hand at your hip crease here, and then lean your chest in the direction of your right foot. Take a big deep breath. We're going to come to a deeper version of this in a little bit. But for now, keep your hand at your hip crease. And then maybe stretch, left arm up. Take a full, big, deep inhale and exhale. Inhale, rise all the way back up, hands to your hips. Now turn your feet parallel and then turn your left foot out. Bend into your left knee tracking toward the pinky edge. Lift your ribs, your chest, your heart, and stretch. Take a deep breath. Hands to hips. Work your left leg towards straight. And again, turning your knee toward the pinky toe edge all the way from your glute. Hand right at your hip crease. Shift your hips back so you're making even more of a hip crease. And then maybe stretch, top arm up. Take a big breath. So this is a variation of our triangle pose. Keeping that hip crease and the turn of the knee open is knee health, but also can help the low back release because it happens all the way up at the glute. Take another full big breath here. Inhale, rise back up. Turn your feet parallel, and now turn right foot out again. Bend into your right knee, and now this time elbow to your right knee. Top arm can reach straight up or over your ear. Turn your knee toward the pinky toe edge, shin straight up and down. As you take a big, full, deep breath, push your elbow down and lift your ribs up more. Now push into the floor, inhale, rise all the way up, and now from this place, we're going to take that triangle pose again. You can always use a block on the inside or the outside of your leg. Or you can take the same variation we did before because it sometimes just feels really good. So shift your hips back, knee is opening up, extend your heart. If you want, hand down to something, turn open with your heart and stretch up. Big breath. Top head back to your hip. push into the floor with both feet and rise up. And then turn your feet parallel and turn your left foot out. Bend into your left knee and remember that opening all the way from your glute. Set your elbow down and then open your chest, shoulder blades on your back. Check it out and notice, where's your shin? Where's your knee aimed? Find that place that's a healthier spot for your knee. And then maybe stretch straight up or over your ear. Big deep breath, push. Expand your rib cage. Then top hand to your hip, push into the floor with your feet to rise up. Work your front leg or your left leg towards straight. And again, block if you want, or you can come back to that hip crease press. Again, it just helps create space and feels good sometimes. So hips push back, knee turns open, extend your chest, and then hand to something, or it can stay up at your hip or your thigh, and then maybe stretch up. Take a deep breath. Push into the floor with your feet to rise up. And then turn feet parallel. Walk your feet together. And then come back to the front of your mat. And from that place, feet are inner hip distance apart and parallel. So not outer hip distance, but the inner hip bones is where they stack. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, bend knees to fold. Inhale, lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. Plant hands, you're stepping either back to hands and knees or downward facing dog pose, your choice. Take a full, big, deep breath. And now from this place, rotate elbow pits forward and push. Especially in down dog, you're pushing all the way from your lats out through your hands. Bend your knees, send your sitting bones up if you're in your down dog. Inhale, come forward into your plank. Use knees down if you would like to. Stay rotating forward with elbow pits and pushing, lifting through the belly and the low ribs. Then extend your chest forward. Exhale, bend elbows and lower down. Inhale, curl up and open through the chest, through the shoulders. Not necessarily rising to the highest place. You can always rise up a little higher if you want, but keep a bend to the elbows. Broad through the chest. Take another big breath. And as you exhale, engage low belly, low ribs. Inhale, shoulders are up and back. Exhale, lower all the way back down. You can set your head on your hands here or turn your head to one side. Bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs. And then push yourself all the way back, hips to heels, into the child's pose that we know and love. And remember that in child's pose, if you have some knee stuff going on, then you might keep your hips a little bit elevated or even put a blanket in between your calves and your thighs. So take a couple big, deep breaths. Maybe add a little bit of movement here through the arms, through the hips. And then gently rising up to your hands and knees, find whatever you're using for a pillow or a bolster, okay? And if you're using a pillow, sometimes you have to either put two together to make it longer or stack them. Or I use my big blue blocks sometimes and put them together for a bolster. So find that long thing for yourself to lay on. So from hands and knees, you're gonna come to lay your belly down on your bolster. So you have some space for your head, your arms in front. And now you're gonna bend your knees out to the side. So your knees are turning out, your toes are turning out. It feels a little bit like a frog pose. So with this is a little bit more of a restorative place to allow your low back to release by using your breath. So now set your head down on something. Again, it could be a block, it could be down on your hands. Take some really big breaths and start to expand your belly into your prop. As you expand your belly, just notice if you have some movement into the low back. And if there's no movement, it's okay. Just take that information in. If there's a decent amount of movement, then that's an awesome thing. It might feel really good to take an even deeper, exaggerated breath. We have about 5 more deep breaths right here. If it feels good to exaggerate your breath even more, then feel free to purposely expanding your belly downward so that your back will expand. And then you can lift up onto your elbows, walk your legs back in. And now as you come back up onto your hands and knees, you can push the bolster or pillow a little further forward. And then we're gonna sit sideways so that we're sitting to face the right side, but your knees are bent back. And then turn your belly, turn your heart towards your pillow or bolster. You can shift it around to where you need it to be. And then come to rest. As you come to rest, take a natural breath, not trying to make your breath deeper, but just allow it to be to its extent. And gently use your hands to support you to come all the way back up to your seat. And then you're going to turn yourself around to face the other direction. And again, your knees get to bend back. And then as you shift your bolster around and turn your belly towards your bolster, come to rest in your comfortable place. Adjusting how much you're twisting if you need to. Adjusting where the bolster is if you need to. Find comfort. And gently push yourself back up to your seat. And as you come all the way to sitting bones, we're going to get ourselves ready for Shavasana. We have a couple more poses to do, but bring yourself all the way down onto your back. Making sure that props are handy. And then as you come down onto your back, the knees pulling in toward the chest, either be wide or narrow, and then rock a little side to side. And now set footprints on the ground, and you're going to choose which prop you're going to use for underneath your hips for a little restorative version of bridge, a little psoas stretch. So feet walk in towards your sitting bones, and then lift your hips up and set your prop underneath. And you can adjust to make your sacrum feel more comfortable, and realize that if you have a lot of tension in your back, then you might even just do almost flat blanket to elevate your hips a little bit. It doesn't have to be really high. From this place, if it's in your practice, if it feels good, you can walk your legs out and take the psoas stretch. Psoas is the biggest hip flexor in the body that stretches from the low ribs near the spine all the way down through the hip bones and into the inner thighs. So it's a good sized muscle. It's actually a set of two muscles. Take a couple big breaths, maybe add that stretch of arms overhead, and realize that at any point in time, if this does not feel good, then you can always come back to a bent knee place or arms by your sides. Shift it to what's comfortable. Full big breath. Now, for some of you, this might feel really good and you want to stay here for a while. You're welcome to take Shavasana or your final rest right here. Or you can always walk your feet in, pick your hips up, and slip your prop down underneath your legs. Come to a comfortable spot for your Shavasana and let your eyes close if that's in your practice. And allow your body to settle. Allow any of those places where you're holding on to tension to soften, to release, to let go. Begin to take a deeper breath. And add some gentle movement into fingers and into toes. As you're ready to, you're bending knees and roll into one side. And gently pushing yourself up to your seat. From your seat, connect palms together at heart center. With your eyes closed, take a moment for a full deep breath. Have a very peaceful, beautiful day. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.